Yes.
We really just have one thing to go over tonight, and that is to discuss the priority items by building level. I've read through these pretty extensively today. There's a lot of crossover, maybe some clarification on some things I didn't quite understand. But I think we'll go through them quickly, and then if I can provide clarification, or if I need clarification, I'll ask. And then out of tonight, I'd like to come to a consensus on 5 items that you take back to your buildings, discuss with your buildings, and then out of those 5, we will bring 3 forward. Everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But also keep in mind as we go through these that they have to align with what Dave talked about last week, and I apologize, I don't have that sheet of paper in front of me. Does somebody else have that? Yeah, so when we're going through these, we're talking about, is it sustainable? Is it balanced with the other district needs? Is it manageable? So just keep in mind that those options when we talk about these. All right, so we'll start with elementary. It looks like they've been kind of split into 3 sections, and one that's been a reoccurring theme through all of them, through each building, was retirement, some sort of retirement package. I'm assuming that contribution into HSA was a second bullet point within that retirement piece. And then, which is actually not really retirement, it's more insurance benefits, but that's fine. And then payout for sick days and share sick days with staff when needed. I just don't know, is that meaning to the point of going back to a 1-for-1 payout, because it's currently, okay, 45, okay, that's what I figured, but, and then share sick days with staff when needed, is that a donation piece that you're looking for? So we do that right now, but we don't, the ability to do that is there. When we identify a staff member in need of sick leave days, we do put out that email. I know at the high school that they've seen that email go through, and the staff does have the ability to give days if they'd like. But it's on an as-needed basis, so we identify them once we receive FMLA paperwork, when we know somebody's out and they don't have enough sick leave, then we put that out to staff for donation. Is that what was meant by that?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was
Okay.
a question about, like, someone like me that maybe doesn't have 90 plus, could I still donate if I wanted to? Someone thought there were certain rules, they were just curious.
No.
Anyone could.
Anyone can donate, yep.
Okay.
Did I miss anything? Elementary people, no? Okay.
So it's good so far.
Insurance benefits. There are some things that we're bound to, so health insurance is one of them. We currently belong to a co-op, and what that means is that we are part of a consortium with CISA 11 with health insurance costs, and we entered that co-op to mitigate the increase in health insurance that we would have seen had we not gone to that co-op. Had we not gone to that co-op, we would have been looking at about 58% increase in health insurance premiums. So to enter that co-op, I believe we actually went down about 3%, but we are locked into that co-op for, I believe, 3 years. So that high deductible plan, we don't have any influence on what the deductibles or the premium's going to be. That is a vote within the consortium. So that's kind of something we could take off the table. However, to counterbalance that though, that HSA would be something that you could add in, a contribution into an HSA to help with those high deductibles.
Shannon, just a real quick question.
Yep.
Did we just go into this co-op last year? Or was it?
Or,
Yes,
or
starting-
yeah, what year are we in this?
Just-
We're in year 1,
Okay.
yes. Joining a collaboration like the Rice Lake School District for nursing and doctoring staff. Without getting too in-depth into that, Rice Lake is what they call self-funded with their health insurance. So that opens up a whole different aspect of health insurance, and that's the reason that they're able to go into that, have that district nursing and doctor on staff. If you want to have a side conversation about self-funding, we can do that later because it's just too in-depth to go into right now. But that's another thing that we could strive to work towards as a district, is to go self-funded, but having a collaboration and having that district nursing or doctor on staff is, I don't know if that's a possibility for us.
And they don't allow people to join their
they're self-funded, so they
So they would never do a collaboration with another district to,
self-funding, you don't do collaborations with other districts, no. So they're self-funded within their own school. And then the same thing with the allow, that was on there twice, allow staff to share, yeah, okay. Continue to have competitive compensation schedule. So one of the board's initiatives was to continue to offer cost of living increases and to make that a priority. So I think we could probably strike that because they haven't taken that away. You know,
I
we've
think
got,
that was more of like saying, we want to keep this.
okay.
That was saying like, we
Okay.
do not want to sacrifice this
Oh,
for
okay,
anything
okay,
else.
that helps, thank you. Compensation other than pay, so this was an interesting one, something that, you know, we look at from time to time. What can we give to staff that doesn't involve, direct pay within the contract? And that would be half days, time for time, leave early on Fridays, that's just some suggestions. So that's one that we could probably, talk about today. I don't know what that looks like for you guys, how you guys want to structure that, but. I don't know what the next bullet point is, so if somebody could clarify that for me.
Common comment among the elementary school is feeling that the responsibilities expected between buildings doesn't always seem the same. So some of this is just not always knowing, sometimes it feels like one building has different expectations for a certain responsibility versus another, and just how to make sure everyone feels fair and that you're compensated for those things.
I don't necessarily know if that's something that the compensation committee would take on. I think that's more of an admin role to discuss, you know, maybe getting feedback from staff on that and discussing more clarification within the buildings. Cause I don't know how we would, yeah, that wouldn't be on compensation. I think that's more of an admin thing to talk about. Stipend for committees needs to be revisited. This was revisited last year during the handbook one, and that's when it was determined that, that was not sustainable, and that was a worry that we had when we went into that with the first round of compensation committee with what they had asked for. It just wasn't sustainable once we did a full year of payouts on it. So if this is something that this committee does want to revisit, we would likely have to look at lowering the amount of committees per building or lowering the amount of people on each of those committees if you wanted to raise the pay. Hourly rate, daily rate for PD training that falls outside of the school year or outside of contracted time. Clarification on that? You're just looking to be paid for,
Mark was mentioning that the rates for like a summer day or something like that has been $100
Yep,
for like
okay.
10
Yep,
years.
yep, and I was just,
that's a good, I was wondering if
and
that's what you meant.
that's why I
Yep.
put that,
Yep, that's a
down.
good one, cause I was hoping that somebody would get that on there. So PD rate basically is looking at to increase that PD rate. Okay,
as a possibility,
Yep,
of negotiation.
yep.
And then
We'll
when
be
we're-
careful, we don't negotiate. We don't use that term,
Okay.
cause we're not in a union.
Okay.
It's like a
Yeah.
word, can't use it.
As we discuss,
As we talk about it.
okay,
That bullet point was also talking about when trainings are longer than the 8-hour days that are required. So
Okay.
there's that reference too.
So something to talk about there, and I know that we've had lots of discussions surrounding this. Certified staff are not hourly people, or hourly staff. They are salaried. So I think that that is a good conversation that we can have, but just keep that in mind for when we have these discussions. Okay, so did I miss anything at the elementary? Okay, middle
well, I
school.
just think it's important to note that overwhelmingly the staff at the elementary school was really happy with our, you know, our salary schedule that we have, and then we'd like to keep it in place. So we have a lot of good things going on.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thanks.
And they did like the committees. I know that might be, it's gonna be a touchy point since you say there's some problem, but they did like the stipend for committees. They just didn't feel like it was fairly distributed.
Yep, and
So-
my point to that again is if we're gonna start looking at that, we're gonna have to start looking at how we're going to adjust that, because it's either gonna have to be less committees or less people on those committees, because I believe off the top of my head, it's 5 people per committee and 5 committees per building right now. Yeah, clarify that. Okay, SMS. We added these quickly, and if I missed anything, you guys just tell me. Same thing, high deductible insurance plan, HSA contributions, flexibility with time off, explore options like PTO rather than sick leave or personal days. I thought that was a good one. We've looked at that before too. And then retirement, a contribution to retirement, some sort of contribution. I simplified what they said. Does that sound okay?
Yes, we also from the middle school had, extension of the current salary scale with the steps and the lanes. Because there are some people in our district that are at the top right now with their years are maxed and also their credits.
Okay, so with, we'll put top half, how's that? With top tier, that sounds better.
But I think too, also, I think we would have a strong group of people that would wanna say the bottom too, because there's those people that also have to go back and get credits, like it's not an option, they have to. So maybe if we could compensate the lower, so I think it might just be everywhere, top, middle, and lower.
So that's looking at, yep, and that's fine. If-
Just including everyone, no one gets left out.
That's good.
The whole picture.
So
But
when
I
we
think it was more directed at the top because they said older, like people that have maxed credits and years already. So
Yep.
that would be your top half, but
Yep.
I also feel like our district would feel strong about the people that are on the lower part too, because what do they have?
Yep, okay. So you're talking about changing other than what the cost of living is that, am I
Yes.
hearing that correctly? Okay.
Yep, that's what our building,
Is that fair to say?
yep.
Okay.
We also threw the idea around about if we could build more snow days in. So we talked about, we contacted a district that had, let's just say six snow days and only used 4. And so like, if their last day of school was June 3rd, but they didn't use all of those snow days, then they had 2 days left, then they got out 2 days earlier.
This is where we get into that crossover of handbook or compensation committee, and I actually think that is a handbook
Okay.
item. But I'll take it to handbook.
Okay.
So, there are some.
currently have built in?
2, isn't it?
Yep.
And I know, Shannon, at the elementary, we had a similar discussion
Yep.
in our building about,
About crossover and,
Yep.
Yep. All right, middle school, you good?
We had, short-term and long-term, or long-term disability coverage to be paid by the district. And a couple of the responses that we got, we asked, at the bottom if they had any other comments, so these were some of the things that, came up. Pay for overtime, which you already discussed.
Well, it's not really overtime because your salary is.
Yes, that's what I'm
okay,
saying, you already
okay,
discussed, cause it was salary.
Okay,
And then it says, okay, so then this one we kinda touched on too, I think that the snow days, I'm more concerned about having more snow days built in than being,
Okay.
compensated for it. But also could people donate their PTO, if we were to go to PTO, would that be able to transfer over to other staff? So like right now, we could do that, so that was one question.
yeah,
Extended prorated, to part-time employees.
extended I don't understand what you mean by that.
So like if they stay longer than their scheduled time, but you kind of discussed that would be like overtime. So,
But you
but
mean
this
for
would be,
part-time
this would be part-time employees, so.
Part-time certified staff?
Nope, I believe that it was just part-time employees, so that doesn't include us for
No.
certified
Yep,
staff.
so
I
that's-
think someone
Got
heard
in
that and
now,
just
okay,
kind of
got
put it
that,
in, but I
okay.
just wanted to throw that out there, that was
Yeah.
on there. If changing to PTO, would we be able to bank our days that have not been used, or would they be eliminated? And if it's not possible to bank them, then I'm not interested, that was the comment. So,
Fair enough.
I mean,
Fair enough.
just saying that out there. And then I just wanted to say that we are very super grateful for the cash in lieu payment for not taking the insurance. And I'm glad that our district has gone through with that, and we hope that it continues because it makes a difference for many of us. So those were the comments that we got at the middle school.
Alright. Okay, high school. Got a lot here. Compensation that takes into account years of dedication and service to our district. Can I get a little more clarification on that?
These were just
These are just comments that you.
comments
provided.
that people
Gotcha.
sent.
Okay.
So.
Well, do you mind if I just go through and,
Yeah.
kind of touch on the ones that I can touch on?
Mhm.
You okay with that?
Mhm.
The extra co-curricular pay scale, Matt and I are reviewing that.
Okay,
So that is already on the docket to be reviewed,
Okay.
exclusive of this committee. So it will change this year.
okay, so that was kind of a big thing with
Yep.
with some.
Yep.
And then, including, like Skills USA.
Yeah, it needs to be
Some of
updated
them
and-
that just don't have,
Yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
should.
So Matt and I are looking at that. The PTO, that was another one that came through on both, I think middle school now and high school. Put on retirements, putting a retirement benefit in place. Let's talk a little bit about the old retirement benefit. So, my recommendation, or I guess my experience, nothing is guaranteed. So if you were to put that how many people are aware of what the previous retirement benefit was?
Which one?
So,
Sorry.
yeah, you're included in a different group. But so prior to 13-14, there was a tiered retirement benefit that said if you were, and I'm not going to get these numbers exact, but if you're here 0 to 5 years, you got so much percentage, 5 to 10, 10, 15, 15 to 20. Okay. There was nothing in there that said that you were vested after 5 years to say that you were guaranteed that money. There was nothing in there to say 5 years from, like we put it in place now and 5 years from now it goes away, much like it did. So to put another benefit like that in place, I don't think that is beneficial to a larger group of staff that we have. My recommendation, if we're going to go down the retirement road, is a front end loading. So every year you'd get, it could look many different ways. You could get, I'm making numbers up, you could get $500, you could get $1,500. After 5 years in the district, you're vested. That money is yours if you choose to leave. If not, it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So that's my only caveat with the retirement. And we would likely do some sort of calculation so that we realize that there's a huge staggering of years of service between beginning and where we are. So there'd be some sort of calculation with a catch up with maybe some of these other staff members that have been here for a while and what the district could afford. But that's just my soapbox for retirement. So however you guys want to take that. Okay. Again, the $45 a day for unused sick leave, that's across, see that quite a bit. A resigning bonus, the board matches a 403 contribution to set dollar amount upon resigning a contract for additional year. I don't really understand that one, but it's just basically saying that like a full year's worth of salary would get as a bonus. Do you know, Mr. Walker?
I'm not seeing which one you're on.
Which one is that one?
Re-signing bonus under.
Resigning bonus,
Oh,
board matches 403 contribution to set dollar amount upon resigning contract for an additional year.
Yeah, that's re-signing, to,
Oh,
in other-
re-signing.
re-signing,
Oh, I
right,
thought it was
yeah,
just a
yeah.
misspelling.
Can I say a couple things about?
Absolutely.
Okay, the couple things that I'm getting from, the people when I went around is two things. One, to retain staff, using it in that sense to retain staff members. And the other thing is to get them to save for retirement. And then, the front loading thing that you're talking about, I thought is good. Yeah, cause there's only two ways to do it, to front load it or end load it. And if you
And
front
the end
load
load,
it.
it's not a guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's not something that, that you can't grow, so if you, and so the re-signing part there was to encourage people to re-sign their contracts for the next year. All right, and then by doing that, so not being something that you would totally get all the time, but to encourage people to stay.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Okay, perfect. Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's one. Healthcare high deductible. Oh, we already talked about this. A contribution into an HSA. That's been pretty much what-
Shannon, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
As we're going through this, do you have to have a certain amount of days to be paid out? Or like if you have 3 days left, do you get paid for 2 of those 3 days? I mean, is there like a cap on that or a minimum?
Upon retirement, or when you leave the district?
Just anything, like, I'm assuming it would be more towards retirement, so like.
Yep,
if-
so there's a year caveat in there of when you would receive that payout. You wouldn't receive it unless you've been here for X amount of years.
Okay.
And then after that, no, there isn't a a
A
set,
limit
you're
amount.
right, yes.
Okay.
The limit is the years. You have to be here for so many years before you get that payout.
Do you know how many?
5, I wanna say.
Which one is it, whatever?
That is the sick leave payout.
Oh, the sick leave. I'm not sure.
Oh, you know what? Let's just look it up.
Yeah, it's probably right here.
I thought it was 15.
Is it 15?
It might be, I'm not, that's what I'm thinking.
There have been many variations
Yeah.
of that, so that's where I,
You've been around too long, Chris.
What's that?
You've been around too long.
15, yes, it's 15. At one point, I believe it was 5. So, it's 15. Sorry, Sarah.
And then here, it says a maximum of 90 days will be paid out.
Yeah, because every year, there's the ability to go down to 90 days. I think there's a payout to go down to 90 days. If you're above 90 days, you 2-for-1 to go down to 90 days. So you'd never be above, at any point at the end of the year, you'd never be above 90 days.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that.
Yep. All right, so, that was just. I never wanna have anything you don't want anybody else to see. Okay, so let's go back through and out of this larger, out of the whole group, is there 5 that we can come to consensus on? That we'd like to take back to the buildings and ask the opinions of the colleagues?
I think the HSA contribution was set in all of the buildings, right?
Yeah, okay.
And with the clarification of the co-op, that we're stuck with that, I think once we explain that to our residents, that helps too.
And I don't want it to be a negative, because it's actually it's a positive thing, because we were looking at significant
We saved
increases.
ourselves quite a bit
Yes,
of money, right?
so
Okay.
I don't want it to be spun as something that's like a negative, we're stuck with this for the next 3
No,
years.
but I'm just saying,
Yes,
like,
okay,
we're
yep, we're
locked in.
locked in, yep,
And then we went down 3% from last year.
roughly
correct?
3%, yeah, otherwise we were looking at it was about a 58% increase. Okay, so number 1, I've got HSA contribution, everybody on board with that?
I think so.
Okay. Next one.
I think the flexibility with time off, that was
Flexibility
something
with
that
time
was
off.
3,
Does anybody wanna
option to PTO. something.
Talk about that, so when you talk about that, you're saying converting to PTO rather than.
As an option, sure.
As an option,
I just
okay,
wanna
just to make
make it
sure we're all clear on that. Does anybody, you want to discuss that further?
Can you explain?
Re-explain it, please.
Correct.
Explaining it in a way that is.
Yep.
Correct. No, agreed.
So right now, the district offers sick leave and personal leave days to certified staff. What this would look at doing is and each can be used for certain things, and there's certain stipulations around each of those types of days when you ask to be gone for those types of days. So PTO, basically, it's just a paid time off day, and you can use it as you choose to. So we'd be looking at taking those days and converting them. It's generally not ever a 1-for-1 conversion. It's usually a little bit less PTO than those 2 days, or those amount of days combined. But it offers more flexibility, so you can use them for whatever you want. You're not required to get a doctor's note, or you don't have to have pre-approval. What I can say would still stay, though, would be the 5 limit that the district would put on of anybody being out of the buildings at any one time.
Do you have any idea about how many fewer days it would be?
I don't know off the top of my head.
And then how would carryover look?
That's another question I can't answer until I could, because I don't have the ability to set that, that would be a board decision, so we would make a recommendation to the board. So this group would decide, and we would make a recommendation to the board.
Okay.
So right now it's 3 and 9.
3 and 9 can carry over 2 for a total of 5 in any one year. So if you didn't use 2 personal days, I say P2. If you didn't use 2 personal days in a year, you could carry them over the next year and have a total of 5.
Okay.
Yes.
And all your sick
Yes,
days
they
can
can carry
keep
over.
going?
Yep.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but with PTO, you don't always have to do it in half-day increments either, correct?
Well, that's set by the handbook, so, yeah, I mean, we would likely take that stipulation out. I shouldn't say that, that would have to be voted on,
Sure.
yes.
And then with the 5 per year personal days, would that be 5 consecutive or always only 5 can be used?
You can use up to 5 consecutive, and that, I believe, requires approval from the administrator. So I have never, Dave has never not said yes to anybody, or Dr. Aslan has never not said yes to anybody when they've requested 5 personal days off. That probably will stay in effect, where you'd have to,
And for the whole year, it would just be 5, the use of 5 vacation days per year, even with a PTO.
I don't know how, I mean, we generally go 5 days in a row is the max amount that we would
Oh, okay.
look at. So, extenuating circumstances, you know, when you have FMLA that starts to get involved in that, then we have to have different conversations. If you're gonna have a child, or if you.
But if someone has like 90 sick days banked and we change those to PTO, like what?
Lots of
So even
conversations.
if we did half,
Yep.
someone's got 45
Those are-
paid time off, you could like be like, I'm taking every other week.
Those, well, no, you wouldn't convert those. No.
You don't convert those?
No, you don't get to
Oh.
convert the. I
Those
mean,
would stay sick days.
well, those are all conversations that we would have
Okay.
to have. So
Okay.
I've seen it done a lot of different ways. I've seen it done where those, if you've, whatever you've accumulated thus far until the day we change it, you get to keep as sick leave days.
Okay.
They only get to be used as sick
So
leave
that's
days.
one of the
And then
questions
going
that we had.
forward, that would be however many PTO. So what is it? It's 9 and 3. So say we went to 10.
Okay.
And then that would be 10 PTO days going forward, but you'd always have whatever you, sick leave
So the
you would.
sick days would just stay sick, I think that's.
Yeah,
what
and then you
people
just,
were
you don't ever
wondering.
gain any
Okay.
more, you just
Yeah.
use them down,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and you said that.
Sorry, but I've also have seen it where they go away too. And I
Oh.
don't
So
think,
there is a chance if we switch to PTO, people will lose their
I
days.
think we would likely go to where they'd go in a bank.
Okay.
And then they're just out there. I don't
So at
foresee the
this-
board wanting to take those away from people.
Okay.
This is all my opinion, just want everybody to know that.
No, that makes sense, so.
Well, if they don't,
So, okay.
if they don't bank them, then it seems like people would be more likely just, be like, you know. Not
Well-
wanting
Do
to.
we
Say
wanna
forget it,
add,
yeah.
so are we in consensus that we wanna add that as one as our 5?
I think there's a lot to discuss on that.
Yes.
So
Wow.
if we do, when you bring this back to your buildings, they're going to have those questions, and how I would answer it would be, that's something that the committee would continue to develop as we talk about it. You know, you can't give them answers we don't have, and those, you know, the highlights of it would be, more flexible use of your time off. I guess that would be the best way to put it.
Maybe we should just move on to another one and see
Okay.
if we come up with a, you know,
Okay.
Has there been an issue with time off? Because anytime I've asked for time off, I've always been granted it. I mean, within a, because I've always had pretty good reasons why I needed to be off.
I don't know, I'm different.
One of the conversations at our building is, we've had a couple people that have been denied
Okay.
because there are certain people out of the district already.
Oh, okay.
And I guess that's another question, how would that work? Would we
That
be-
wouldn't change, because I'm
So
guessing
you'd
that.
still be able to only have 5
5
people
out,
out of the
yep.
district, so.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily a denial because of the type of time, remember, it's a denial because of the cap that we put on how many people can be out of the district at a
Okay.
time.
Yeah,
Well,
that
that's-
happens.
out of the
That's good to
district or
clarify
out of the-
that.
it's
I thought it was
out
out
of
of
the
the building.
building.
Good.
So
Yeah.
I
Because I thought-
feel like that hasn't been an issue here at the high school, has it?
No,
I've not. I don't
it
think
happened
I've-
once to me, but I mean, that's just what you know,
Yeah.
For like a
part of the handbook.
Yeah.
dinner wedding, and then since they only had 3 days, they took some unpaid, but then since it was unpaid, they had to pay for 7. So if you wanted to take more than 3, the unpaid factor is.
So if you don't have enough sick days for maternity leave, you have to pay for yourself.
Yeah, well, and you've gotta pay for part of your insurance.
And all of
I
your
only had
insurance
1
and
day,
benefits.
but you do, once you run out,
That's why
yeah.
I get the disability.
Okay, so, okay. Oh, $45 for those sick, going away from the 2-for-1 for sick leave. I saw that quite a bit. So right now it's $45 for every other day of sick leave that you have. For those of you who've been here for a while, it used to be $45 for every sick day that you had. There's a, Mark, do you remember that?
I-
Jill, do you
Yeah,
remember that?
I do
Yes,
remember that.
okay.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah, So is that something, I saw that throughout here a couple times, is that something that this committee is looking to go back to?
That was brought up in our building.
Okay. I'm trying to find it, I'm sorry.
Can I just make a
Yeah, that's not ours.
comment about the PTO? Are we still on PTO?
Well, we can go back to it.
Well, I just wanted to, just listening to the conversation over here, I think it would be important that we be able to bank those sick days or whatever days they are, because whether there's, you become a father or a mother, or you have something go wrong where you need to take sick days, if you don't have your 60 days banked, that's important. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
And
foresee
so-
the board taking away what you've already had banked. I really don't.
Well,
They might, I mean, I don't see, as a recommendation from us, and we come forward with a structure of saying, staff would retain whatever sick days that they have going forward, and then PTO,
but even going forward,
I don't.
if a new person coming into the district has 0 sick days and is not allowed to bank up to 20, 30, 40,
Well, that, they would no
Yeah.
longer be sick days, they would be PTO. If we move
Okay.
forward with PTO, you don't get sick leaves,
well,
sick leave
Yeah.
days, you get PTO, is that,
yeah.
okay,
I'm just saying, being allowed to bank them, so if you got sick, say you have a heart attack or something bad was to
yeah,
happen where you
yeah,
needed to
but you're
take
talking about
30
PTO days, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
PTO days.
okay,
So banking
those
two.
days, yeah, you were
Banking
saying
those
sick
too,
leave, but you
yeah.
were actually meant PTO, okay.
And are you?
Yeah, I'm just confused.
Are we pretty sure if we were to go to PTO, we would lose a couple days, cause
Yes.
okay, you
So
just,
if we formulate a survey for our school, we should say something about the possibility
Yep.
of fewer days in PTO
Yep.
and
Yeah,
possibility of
it's
losing
generally,
sick
it's
days.
not a one-to-one conversion, it's you lose a couple days, and I would say even going from 12 to 10 is generous, but that's, that's something we would all work out.
so if
Yeah.
we were to bring that to our staff, we should probably stick with the number 10 right now, probably roughly,
I wouldn't even
or
stick with the number 10, I would
just
just
say
say it
we're
would
going to
likely
lose
lose
some
some,
days.
okay,
yeah,
give and take.
yep. Oh, no, I didn't say that, I
No,
said that's
there
something we would have to
No.
decide as a district. I think Chautauqua Warehouser is a good example of, one that has converted to PTO within the last 5 years. So, Chautauqua
Worked
Warehouser.
in Chautauqua, you had to use up your sick days first.
Did
or
they
whatever
convert it to
they-
PTO though?
But you had more PTO and only a few sick days, so you had to use all your PTO first and then use your sick days, and your sick days had to have a doctor's note.
But they weren't always PTO, that's what I'm saying, they converted to PTO. Well, how long were you there?
3 years,
So-
3 years ago.
Cause they weren't always at a PTO/sick leave, they were at a, same thing we're at. I'll look into it. When we start going down that road and talking about it,
You didn't,
we'll go out
but
and
what
find
they're
other
saying,
examples.
can we just clarify this, cause now we got questions with PTO and sick days. So when we're referring to sick days, that's the days that you've already accumulated. They don't automatically get to roll over to PTO days, correct? So like you would have, if you have 5 sick days currently, then next year when you got your PTO, those would stay sick days.
That's all hypothetical, too. So,
Cause she
yeah.
just said, I thought
Yeah.
if we had PTO, we didn't have sick days, so that was the
Going
confusion.
forward, you
Yeah.
wouldn't, so there'd be a hard and fast, you know, be July of 1st start date, and that would be, yeah, okay. We're good on that. Okay, yeah, so far. $45 for every other sick leave, which, again, could be affected by the conversion to PTO. So now remember, if you're gonna convert to PTO, think about the staff that you have coming on, the new staff that we would hire. This is no longer applicable to them because they wouldn't be accumulating sick leave days because they would be coming on and getting PTO to begin with. So maybe it's a change in verbiage to say $45 for every, if we go to the route of PTO, $45 for every banked day off or something like that.
Could we just kind of put those two together? I mean, they are related, right? So maybe not just saying PTO, you could just make it sort of how to handle your time off. I mean, don't leave anything off the table? I mean, so,
Well, it was very specific in the other, so you don't get paid out for personal days, and that's why I think there was the delineation between personal and sick leave days. Typically, I don't really think you get paid out for PTO days, it's usually that sick leave part, but if we move forward and we have this, kind of we'll have a mix of people that have different days, we will have to just make it a day off.
correct, so
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, can we just go into the building with more open,
Right
more open
now?
discussion and say what's important?
Right now, I would say we're not going to if we choose, right now, I don't think it's on the table to change these to any type of day. It's gonna stay to sick leave payouts rather than personal leave days payouts. Does that make sense?
Right, but that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm not getting what you're saying.
Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is, rather than make PTO versus sick days and $45 for every sick day off, two separate issues, why can't we just put out to the buildings in general and say what's more important to you? I mean, between these two, have more flexibility with your
Or
time.
you're saying one or the other.
Or, I mean, I don't wanna lock it into those two, but also just kind of get people to think about what's the best way that they want to use their time off.
So we're gonna take 5, so that would, I mean, in theory, that would take up 2 of the 5, because they really are 2 separate issues in the handbook, and when you're talking about compensation, so, I mean, we'd have to still take 2 of the 5 that we're going to go forward with.
Okay,
So,
I just put it out there, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I
thoughts
agree,
and-
I agree, you could correlate them together, but they're still gonna, when we talk about handbook and when we convert the stuff from here to the handbook, it is gonna be separated in the handbook.
Mhm.
Okay. $45. Okay, maybe let's just stop talking about that one for now. Let's go to PD. Everybody in agreement to increasing the amount for PD days from $100 to, what are we thinking? You wanna wait and just have it be a general statement right now and see if you get agreement from your buildings, and then we can talk
Yeah.
about dollar
I'd
amounts?
like to get feedback from, what,
This would be one of our 5 that we would take back to our
Do
building.
we want this to be one of the 5?
That's what she's asking.
That's what I'm asking.
Oh,
It was one that was a reoccurring through all 3 buildings.
we didn't have it, did we?
Did you have an increase in PD, Sarah?
No, we did not have that one.
Oh,
But we also didn't throw that out as a choice
Oh,
either. We
okay.
ranked ours.
sorry. It was a possibility in 2 things. So right now it's $100 a day for PD.
And where did that number come from? Just,
It's been around for a very long time.
okay,
yeah.
Really long time.
okay.
I guess that's why it came up is because, I've been here for quite a few years now and it hasn't changed, so.
I'm surprised it hasn't come up before,
Right.
but yeah, so.
And that's a conversation that came up a lot in our building, maybe we have extra, maybe we do more of that kind of thing, I don't know, but it came up a lot from different people.
Are we willing to add that as one of the 5?
But if it doesn't affect the other buildings though.
Yeah, let's-
Professional development
let's-
days?
Yeah, you guys gotta have that
We're
discussion.
the only
I don't
ones,
know.
then.
Actually, it must be, I don't know.
So can you give me what are your PD days
No,
in the summer that you're
So
doing?
for
kinda
example,
confused
like
what you're
I went to
talking
math
about.
training, I
Right.
got paid $100 a day.
Or like when we had to write the new curriculum.
When you have to work outside of your contract
Oh,
hours,
okay.
Yeah.
like
So how
over the-
about-
like summer teas or things
Yep,
like that.
so if we have,
Or just
I
if you
can't
had to work.
believe it's just like middle school, I guess, I thought it was a district thing. This is
We didn't hear anything.
crazy. We,
so what are you thinking? You guys gotta tell me.
I don't see why not.
Let's throw it on there.
Okay.
And I think too, this summer, there's talk of collaborative time.
Yeah, so think
switch
about
more
going
schedules.
forward as a PLC district and what that looks like, and that time outside of, that time, common meeting time in the summer.
Contribution.
What's that?
Can we talk or discuss about 403B contributions? Oh, okay,
The
sorry.
next one, Mark.
Alright.
Rushing me. I'm just kidding.
So
So I've got 2.
would you like us to talk to our buildings and just see, like, throw out an idea, a number and?
Nope,
like,
so
or
this is how I would approach it, to say that, our current rate is $100 a day. This
Would
is
you
one.
like to see an
Yep,
increase?
yep. Is there something that, we're looking at an increase on the compensation committee, is this something that you'd be interested in? Remember, we can only come back with 3, so they're gonna have to rank these.
Yep.
I have two so far. Are we leaving that convert to PTO on there or off?
No, we were putting that at number 6, and then if we have room, right?
Oh, okay, okay.
So you have HSA and PD.
Okay.
And we
So
gotta be
far.
done at 4:45.
Yeah,
Two.
we have
So-
20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
Just a-
It's just HSA.
So far, we have HSA and then the increase for
Okay.
professional development in the summer.
PTO's not
Okay.
part of it
PTO
yet.
is
If there was a
Question mark.
on the end. It's on the fence.
Okay, 403B. Or retirement benefit. Doesn't necessarily have to be 403B, but retirement benefit. We wanna start having those discussions again? Mark Jason?
About 403B. So I'd like to see, like, if the district would be willing to match a certain percent of what you put into a 403B every year, and, you know, whether it's 25 or 25, I don't even want to throw out a number, I'm just saying it'd be nice if they could contribute something to it. And then that way, it would kind of force others that aren't contributing to a 403B to be putting into it.
Yep, and so that goes to
Because-
Chris's point about, getting more people to put into a
Right,
retirement
right.
fund.
Yeah.
So what was that last part when you said if you didn't have a 403B, you would be encouraged to go?
Yeah,
So the district would match a percentage up to a pick an amount. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
my old district had it set up, and I don't remember exactly how it was, but if you didn't use like your sick days, they'd contribute more, or they're, you know,
So these are all interlinked because
it
if
was
we go-
interlinked
if
and
we
it
go
worked really
way-
well because people somehow use less days, which saved the district a bunch of money, which, you know what I mean?
When I say interlinked though, I mean, think about if we convert.
Oh,
to-
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
And also I go back to the conversation of management. So how big was your other district?
it was a lot bigger, yeah.
And
I
and
mean,
the staff to facilitate that and track
Yeah.
that and.
yeah, that's true.
So it is a good idea, I've heard it being done
Sure.
before, it does mitigate the amount of sick leave days that are taken. But in reviewing the amount of sick leave days that are taken in this district, we don't have an issue.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all, the large chunks that we have are related to FMLA type of activities that
Yeah.
are very legit. So I think, if it was something where we were seeing a rash of them,
yeah,
then we might have
then
that
it would make sense, yeah,
have that conversation.
sure.
The other, he mentioned, Mark mentioned about matching a percentage. The other would be to match an amount up to a certain
Yeah.
amount.
It's either or. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Up to
whatever makes it easier for
management and.
for you,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, as far as, or Trey.
Should I loop her in on these conversations?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want that on that
Could
list?
be number 3.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
So the logistics of that would be.
Worked out later.
Correct, okay.
Once we get the 3, then we'll go back and we'll start structuring them and what they look like. Cause there's some hefty costs associated with, when you talk about an HSA contribution, so think of, I don't know, $500 or $1,000. We have 96 certified staff members. This wouldn't only just be for certified, it'd have to be extended to everybody, so that's roughly 100 and some employees at $1,000 a piece or a 403B match, so we have to talk about costs and stuff like that. Okay, 4. Build in more snow days. That was one that I was gonna come back to. Oh, that's a handbook, never mind. Sorry.
Can we go back to the one that Chris was talking about the re-signing of your contract?
Oh, yeah, it was called I put a hyphen in there. It was to,
Thank you.
Yeah,
It does
sorry.
help.
Yeah, I tell you, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I kind of thought about this the other day, just because, you know, to encourage people to stay here. I think that's one of the things that we've been talking, the district's been talking about is, you know, not having people move on. And so the bonus on that was to encourage people, good teachers, you know, to re-sign, all right, with the district. And that would be kind of retirement package. So rather than just giving, you know, it doesn't sound good, but it does, rather than giving everybody the 403B match, it would be the people who re-signed for the next year. Does that make sense? And so what it does is it helps with the retirement, but it also encourages people to stay here. And hopefully it's good teachers, you know, but, I mean, that's been what I've been hearing, is they want people to stick around and however you can do it to encourage it and then include it into retirement. That's what I was mentioning.
So it wouldn't be a direct pay, it would be a contribution.
It would be a
towards the 401k. Yep.
contribution, yeah.
Okay.
It's basically what we're talking about up here.
Mhm.
It's,
So that would be like,
it's a-
almost like the state of Wisconsin or something, right? You know, like, if you leave it, well, I'll use Minnesota for example, so if you leave and if you take, you know, your retirement out of that state, then you only take what you put in, you
Mhm.
cannot take what the district did,
Right.
so it forces you to
Right.
keep that bundle
yeah,
together.
that's the WRS.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
different.
that's totally
Yeah.
different. This,
No, I know it's totally different,
yeah.
but isn't that what you're saying, that if I
Um,
don't resign,
no, yeah, go ahead,
no,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just not understanding.
No, what I was doing there is basically what we already have, and that was, the
Front
mat,
end.
the front end load, the matching. But what that does was it encourages people to stay here in order to get it. You know, I think one of the big reasons in the past, you know, they've never gone away with the retirement is because, or that one package is because somebody could stay here for 15 years and then leave, all right? Where you know, that was one of the big things. Where here, whatever would encourage people to stay if you built it into the retirement.
Could it possibly be a timing of when that contribution would be made?
Right.
So it could be linked with that front end loading, but it would be a timing issue of when.
Correct.
So it would, rather than like a July 1st load, it would be a June 30th. Once you've
Right.
completed and we've received your contract back for the
Correct.
year,
Correct.
you would get that.
That's what I was
Yeah.
putting. Yeah.
Yep.
It's more of a timing
It's a
thing.
timing issue,
I
yeah.
finally understand.
That was my quick.
It's like, I just don't get it. That
Yeah,
helps,
yeah.
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I get it now.
I think we could tack that on to, you know, that could be further discussions about
Yeah.
that front end loading about the timing of it.
It was just a thought, yeah.
Oh, hey, I
You
like
did a
that.
lot
I
better
like
job
that.
explaining than I did.
Well, I do too, actually. I think it's good.
Okay, so I don't,
Oh, no, nobody.
are we, you guys, anybody got, oh, short and long-term disability covered by the district, is that something you wanna further discuss? And it's all dependent on your age.
I think that came up too, because if we were talking about sick days going away,
Yep.
that people may need to take advantage of having short-term disability more if your sick days aren't gonna be able to be banked. So I think that's why that kinda came up, but.
For maternity leave.
Yep, so I don't, it's different for every single person in this
Right.
room, how much it is.
I guess my question though is, you know, going back to what Dr. Aslan's looking at, is it sustainable and is it gonna be manageable? I don't feel like it is, because everyone's gonna be different and every employee's gonna want it, and you just said there was over 100 and whatever employees here.
So, and in just looking at what we have right now, you know, 2 of the 3 things that we have are pretty significant investments that are gonna happen by the district, one way or the other. So is there something that we could put on here possibly
It's not
that?
so expensive.
What about compensation outside of
That's
pay?
where I was just gonna go with it. Is there something on here that we could talk about where it's maybe there's not direct monetary involvement either on the contract or out of the district in terms of HSA or something like that. And one of those would be alternative pay options, meaning you earn a half a day of PTO. I can't think of something. I mean, maybe at the end of the year if you have.
Can I just throw this out there? I know right now the technology committee is doing something similar to that.
Yes.
We have to get 8 hours outside of the school day and we're going to be compensated a day.
You get a day of sick
No,
personally.
Personally, is what
yes.
we are being compensated, so
Yes.
something like that would
Yeah,
be
you
an
would.
example of that.
Yep. So you could earn extra PTO days that you could add in, or something like that, or what was the other?
I'm sure our colleagues will have plenty of ideas about how we can,
Did I go by it?
how we can
It was like
distribute
the
that.
fourth bullet down, third bullet.
Time for time, leave early on Fridays. You mean like after school's done?
Right.
Okay, I was
Students
gonna say.
leave, yeah.
It'll be fine.
Just have to grind the rest of the day.
One person stays back, everybody else goes.
Because we stay late every day.
So, yeah, stuff like that, is that something that we're willing to put on here and have those discussions or take back to staff?
I mean, compensation other than pay.
Compensation other than.
Yeah, I thought that sounded really good, but that's up to
Yeah, looking at
everybody
that, Sarah, what is it that you have to do for that committee in order to fulfill those?
We had 8 hours, kind of like 8 PD hours after school, and then we were to take back our learnings, I guess you could say, back to our teams in our buildings and to share. So like we just did one, Google Expeditions, where we all got to put on the goggles and like, I know elementary teacher led it, and then we just talked about like how could we use it, and then take it back and share with your staff, and because we have a lot of opportunity here for the technology, but we don't know what we don't know because we don't know what's here.
Right,
So I think that was,
so, yeah,
And
something,
it encourages professional development.
Yes.
But also having that option to it without being forced you have to do it, so.
But that would give the option to the administrator to use that, right? Like, it wouldn't be our option to say, well, I'm gonna do this, and then I want,
well, it'd be
my time
structured,
for it.
so you'd have to say, there'd have to be some sort of structure around it, like again, this is all made up, but, for every 4 hours of PD you may do outside of the school day, that's what it was, PD, right? You could earn a half a day of PTO or something, I'm just,
Is that something to take into consideration too, rather than increasing the pay for the PD days, having those be added to a?
you could do that, that would be, yeah, in case, if you, I know districts that, yeah, if you do a PD day, you can trade it for a PTO day.
Because, like you said, moving forward as a policy,
Yeah.
we're gonna be encouraged to do a lot of collaborative time and.
Or collaborative time would be a good example too. If your team decides that, maybe that's lumped in there and you're gonna have collaborative time outside of the school day and, you get so much up to X amount of hours and you can trade that for a PTO day or something like that.
okay. But again, if it was structured that the administrator can, I don't wanna say gift, but understands what team or staff members have earned that, like, at the elementary, we're trying to figure out how to fit in our PLC time, and it may go outside of the school day.
Right,
So would that,
yeah, that
maybe-
would be a good example. I mean, so you could say it's directly related to PLCs and you spend 8 hours a week and you could earn up to 3 days a year of
Yeah.
extra PTO. Again, for the record, all made
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Just wanna make that clear.
That was
Well,
the
this is what
biggest
Shannon said.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the biggest one. Yeah.
Was it
In our building, this was the biggest conversation, more than any of the
Oh,
other
pay for,
ones.
or alternative pay options?
just that,
Well, then we
feel
gotta put
like
it on
in
there.
our particular building, how you were saying
This
that that's
would be a
really
lot of
an
extra
administrator conversation, well, maybe that could be an administrator leeway in that they could give us time for our time.
Oh, I think we would have to structure that at the district
Right.
level to say, yeah. But if it was structured to say, we'd have in the handbook, again, you could say for PLC time or PD time or something like that, you could earn up to 3 days of PTO a year. It's tracked at your building level and then it's turned in for PTO. or personal days or sick leave, however, whatever we decide to do. I've got 4, and we've got 6 minutes.
Do we wanna come back to that for the sick leave or something?
Can I, one thing, and this might extend this, but one thing I was surprised that I didn't see and that we've talked about in the previous one was, more money for professional development, to send staff to professional development. That was something I was surprised I didn't see on there, that, allotting more money per building so that the building administrators had more flexibility in sending people to professional development.
I've never been turned down for a PD day, but that's just me personally in my
Right.
experience, I don't know.
Your pot of money is a little bit different than everybody else's, cause you're coming out of sped, so that's, treated a
I
little
think
bit.
you mean more like at the board meeting that we were at, sharing the PLC thing that we went to in the cities. and
Yes.
Requesting,
Yes,
that is different.
yep, so.
Because I was like, yay,
Yeah,
yes.
so saying that there's more money available for professional development, however that looks structured, or if every grade level gets how much money and you guys decide how you wanna spend it, or,
Like back in the day, each grade, I know, but like I would go to a couple conferences a year, like they would say, Jill, what do you wanna go to, what do you wanna learn about? And that's kinda gone away,
Yes.
we're trying to come back to that.
that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
The other thing we had on ours was the increase the top
And the pay.
on the salary schedule for the people
that's
who are at the max for
So they-
credits, so I don't know if that's, no, I'm just saying if we
Oh.
need one more, that was out there too,
So, okay, yes, that, how does that, I say if we do that, you'd have to include the bottom, because just increasing
Yeah.
the top does not include everybody. And when you start saying increase the salary schedule,
Wait, are you saying increase or actually just, cause doesn't it stop at
It
14?
stops, I
So
think.
is that really
but you
increase?
continue to get increases, so they continue to get
Cost
But
increases.
that would be
living.
cost of living
Yeah.
increases,
Cost of
right?
living
Right.
increases,
So
and then there's
it's almost like
been,
continuing the steps, right? Is that what you mean?
I
so
think
right
that's what they
now,
talked
I just
about.
wanna pull this up really quick, and this is what the Heart of the North looks like right now in terms of salary schedules. So if you look at where we are on the top compared to all of the other Cumberland and Maplewood did not respond. I think that we would have a hard time having that conversation with the Board of Education right now. Cause there's a significant difference between us on the top end and the our peers in the Heart of the North. I think it's a closer conversation if you look at the bottom end. And, I think studies have shown, and everything that I've read, that teacher retention in the first 3 years is very low. And that they tend to leave after the first 3 years. If they're gonna leave, it's gonna be within the first 3 years.
Which the 403B could help, right? That
Well,
was that whole
that
thing.
would be
Yeah.
part of it, yeah.
So then you're, like possibly, right now, is it the first 5 or 6 years it skips years? So talking about the idea of not skipping years, so adding those steps in?
So I'm talking about whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm just saying.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm sure some people would be more willing to want to come. If they knew they were getting a raise every year.
Or stay,
Does anyone know what that's called in here?
yeah.
Oh, actually.
When teachers come in new to the district that have been somewhere else, is there a deciding factor as far as how
5
many
years.
years you get? It's 5?
Five,
Okay.
unless the board meets and decides that they would go above and beyond
It's
that.
on page 44.
Oh, there it is.
Kim, sorry, it's 5 years, and then
Okay.
the board has the ability to change that if they
Okay.
see necessary, yes.
Okay.
So do you wanna make this a topic of conversation of adjusting the earlier years on the pay scale?
Putting some middle ground and so that there isn't paused years. Was the idea behind that just like a stability concern for
We-
finances, or like having them hold out another year, like if I stay another year, then I'll get
honestly, it didn't really have anything to do with finances, cause in the end, it was, again, we offered 3 different versions. We offered a version that was completely filled in, which was hard to sustain. We offered a version that the first 3 years they received increases, and then there was like a break in the middle, like 2 years, and then it continued on. And then we offered this version, so I don't know what the reason, it wasn't my decision, it was a consensus decision with the last committee.
I just didn't wanna put another one forward that we wouldn't be able to do anyway if it wasn't.
I would say that, well, so, and many people may not know this, but even though you don't get that, you get so we didn't adjust where you got less in the 3rd year just because you didn't get the 2nd year. The 3rd year really took the 2nd year and added it into the 3rd year. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 So it just slowed the progression down, I guess would be a better answer for you, Missy. Yeah, but one of them just flipped it on the end. The other one that we had just really just flipped that around and said the first 3 years we gave increases to try to keep people here, and then we staggered it in the middle section and then brought it back again after 10 years or something. I can go find them if we want to have further discussions about it.
I know we're out of time, but is there anything on the last committee that they wanted to bring forward at that time that couldn't, and now maybe this is an opportunity for us to?
Well, I think, the retirement's always been a discussion. It's an ongoing discussion. That's probably the biggest one in the HSA contribution.
Well, we had PTO on there originally as a possible filler. Is that, since we're not finding anything huge, is that something?
We have time for time, right? Like the alternative.
Yep.
Alternative
Yep.
compensation.
Compensation other than pay.
And that gives us 4,
That
and
gives
then
us 4.
PTO would be 5 if that's
PTO
what
would
we
be our
do.
5th one.
I do have a quick question, is that PTO, could you offer like an extra day, like personal day? I mean, there's other options to stay within the system you have, but also make it sound
Right,
better.
yeah, could you do that? Yeah, I mean, could it not be a non-conversion PTO, but adding an additional personal
Sure.
day or something?
So is there a way we can like lump those into
10
one
sick days
category?
versus 9 sick days,
Sure,
or
something like that, yeah, or for
Yeah,
personal
or
day or
could
something.
you wanna put it as a review of
Personal.
personal
off.
slash, or yeah, how about a
Time
review
off.
of time off?
Right, it keeps it broad enough so
Oh,
you
yeah.
think about it.
Okay.
Rather
Like
than,
it
yeah,
could be
narrowing it to
increasing days
PTO.
Right,
or
right.
possibly changing to PTO or.
Mhm.
Do you wanna put it as that? Is that a consensus?
That's a better way, I think, to say it.
Sure,
Okay.
sure, good,
So review time off. How about review time off structure?
I like it.
Okay, so what I will do, I will put these 5 out with some notes underneath them, out on that Google Drive, and then you can take them out to your staff. You're going to get lots of questions, no doubt, because they wanna know what the structure's gonna be. But we can't provide that to them until we decide what to move forward with.
I mean, since we're all bringing the same thing, is it better if we all bring it the same identical way? So
I
that
would-
way she's gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Oh,
put
so
a
that's
doc-
what we're doing, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a document out there
Okay,
and
so
and
then-
provide
yeah.
some notes on the document and how you could present it.
Alright.
I'm sorry,
February 12th.
February 12th.
Is our next meeting